together as a church, as a body of Christ, and we're going to do the Daniel's fast. The Daniel's fast is found in the book of Daniel, and Daniel committed to this fast because he wanted answers from God, right? So this is basically fruits and veggies, right? Fruits and veggies for 21 days. There's some of you who talk to me. Most everybody's on board. Everybody's positive about this. And some people were like, well, I'm going to do my best as far as I can make it. But let me tell you today, you can make it. You can do it, right? When we put our mind to something, God's given us a spirit of determination. He's given us willpower. He's given us a body so that if we try to go get a Big Mac, man, just call somebody up and saying, hey, man, I'm about to do something that I don't want to do, man. I'm about to stuff my face with something that I shouldn't. But join together. Like I said on Sundays, every time I tell you guys to make a new friend, right? Make a Christian friend, because that's important. It's so important to receive that text during the week. You know, that, hey, Pastor Pat, I'm praying for you. Or, hey, brother so-and-so, sister so-and-so, I love you. I'm praying for you. Send a scripture, whatever it is, just something encouraging. But join with us January 1st through January 21st. Daniel chapter 10, verse 3, Daniel says this. He says, I ate no choice food. No meat or wine touched my lips, and I used no lotions at all until the 3 weeks were over. Well, I'm still going to use lotion, man, because I get dry elbows, man. You ever put on your shirt and got dry elbows and it sticks to your hoodie? Yeah, that's me. So I gotta use lotion. So I had a good friend of mine, and he was telling me that he was having some burning and some like rash, like under his panza, and he was pretty worried about it, you know? And I said, well, man, bro, maybe you should go to the doctor. And so he's like, yeah, that's probably a good idea. And he goes to the doctor, and the doctor checks him out and takes, a look at it, and the doctor says, look, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but my diagnosis is that your pants are too tight. Your pants are too tight, man. They're rubbing you raw. So every single year we set resolutions, right? We set resolutions, and who can tell me what the number one resolution is?
Lose weight.
Losing weight, right? Losing weight is the number one resolution. We set these goals that we want to achieve. And some of us, it's even a dream, right? Some of us set goals and dreams that we've had for a long time, and we make it a point to try to reach them. A good friend of mine, I was talking to him the other day, and he's very fit. He's very into fitness. He goes to the gym every day. This guy eats clean, right? Well, his sister has gained some weight, right? She's had some babies, and her diet isn't so great. So she asked him, man, can you help me? Can you put a meal plan together? Can you encourage me? And so my friend says, yeah. And he's encouraging her, right? And so she's doing pretty good for a few months, and she's eating really good through the week. But one thing that he noticed is that he scheduled her in a cheat meal for Saturdays, right? But that cheat meal turns into a cheat day, right? And pretty soon it turns into a binge fest, and it overflows into Sunday, and the whole weekend, man, she's binging, right? And so my friend, he's not very tolerant. He's not very patient, right? And so he's had it with her, And he tells her, and I'm listening to him, and he tells her, you're willing to give up your dreams and your goal for a stinking cookie. For a cookie. You throw it all in for a cookie, and he's frustrated, right? Well, in the Bible, there's a similar story. In the Old Testament, we find a story of Jacob and Esau. They're brothers, right? They're brothers, and they're actually twin brothers, but Esau's the older brother. So back in Old Testament times, the oldest brother had a birthright, right? That birthright, he was to get a blessing from his father, like an ultimate blessing, and it was supposed to be the greatest blessing, and it was for his future. It was for his future children and his future family, and it was for his benefit, right? It was this beautiful thing that belonged to him and only to him. The rest of the siblings, they wasn't getting jack, right? But the oldest brother, that was his thing, just simply for being the eldest son. We're in Genesis chapter 25 today, and I've entitled my sermon, Choose Wisely. Choose wisely. That's hard to do. Choosing wisely is extremely hard to do. Verses 29 through 34 say this. It says, one day when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau arrived home exhausted and hungry from a hunt. Esau said to Jacob, I'm starved. Give me some of that red stew you've made. Jacob replied, all right, but trade me your birthright for it. Look, I'm dying of starvation, said Esau. What good is my birthright to me now? So Jacob insisted, well then swear to me right now that it is mine. So Esau swore on oath, thereby selling all his rights as the firstborn to his younger brother. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and lentil stew. Esau ate and drank and went on about his business, indifferent to the fact that he had given up his birthright. So many times we give up blessing for something so stupid. A bowl of lentil soup? How good can that really be? You know? I never heard somebody say, man, Pastor Pat, after church, I'm having lentil stew. You'd be like, ugh. Lentil stew? Seriously? That's what you're having? Too many times we get caught up in situations that put us at a crossroads. Too many times we end up at a crossroads and we find it difficult to figure out which way is the best way to go. Right? You've all seen the cartoon when you come and the road splits and they're like, which road should I take? Which way should I go? What decision should I make? Right? We end up at these crossroads so many times in our life. One of the reasons is that the devil himself is very good at what he does. The devil is very good at what he does. His job is to make the wrong choice look as right as possible. That's his job. That's simply his job. You know, he doesn't come up here and twist your arm and put you in the headlock and say, make this decision. But what he does do is make the wrong decision look very right. Too many times. And we're a bunch of suckers sometimes, man. We fall for that thing. We're like, wow, man, this looks really good. The crossroad usually happens at a time where something we possess seems useless to us. Check that out. The crossroads usually happens when something that we possess, that we have, seems useless. How many times have you thrown something away, and a year later you're like, man, I shouldn't have thrown that thing away. I could have really used that thing right now, but it's gone. I've tossed it. Right? A very good friend of mine once gave me some very good advice when my wife and I were having marital issues, right? And we were both contemplating divorce, right? And a good friend of mine said to me, he had been through a divorce, and he said, Pat, if I could, if I had the chance, I would have done anything to make that first marriage work, right? It's because he understood now, right? He had to pay child support, man, and the kids were shuttled back and forth, and all the stuff that comes with the split, right? It was good advice for me. It was very good advice for me. So, this crossroad happens when we feel like there is something out there that is better than what we currently have. Better, right? Pastor Raul was talking about my sweet ride, right? That sweet ride cost me $500. It's a Dodge Neon, has a custom spray can paint job from me and my nephew, That thing is dope, right? The best thing about that car is the sound system is, man, I love it. I love cruising that thing. Right now it has a flat tire, so I got to fix that when I get home. But that thing, right? Through all my adulthood, my 20s, right? I'm a truck guy. I've always had a truck. God took that truck away from me for some reason, for whatever, right? But I would be driving down the street in my nice truck. I had a beautiful truck. But what happens when I see a bigger truck with bigger tires, shinier rims, a better paint job? What does my head do? Oh, I want that. What I'm driving is not good enough. I want that. I want that thing. And it doesn't matter what it is. Right? So many marriages fail simply because the spouse looks at their spouse and says, it's okay, but I want that. And you come to a crossroads. Or it can simply be that we just want something. Want. Man, that want, that word is death. That word, that's a killer if we don't use it correctly. Want. We're never satisfied. We've all heard the saying, the grass is greener on the other side, right? I want that grass. I want that life. I want that thing. The funny thing is that the grass may seem greener on the other side, but the truth is that grass still has to be mowed. That grass still has to be manicured. That grass still has to be taken care of, right? And it just might be, I don't mean to step on any toes, but it just might be that the guy that has the grass on the other side is much better at taking care of his grass than you are. You ever drove down a neighborhood and you have houses where the house needs painting. The grass hasn't been mowed. It hasn't even been watered. It's yellow and there's dandelions, man. And there's those puffy things that you blow on, man. And they're sending more weeds to different yards and they're infecting the neighborhood. But then all of a sudden you drive by and there is a beautiful, beautiful home, right? It's not bigger. It's not necessarily better. It's just more taken care of. The guy who has that home, he's out there mowing his lawn. He's out there trimming. He's out there pulling weeds. Man, he's probably got a beautiful garden in the back. He has a fresh paint coat on his home. He's put new shingles on the roof. He's put storm windows and storm doors. And it's a beautiful thing to look at. And what do? We go, oh, I want a home like that. Right? But we don't understand the effort that went into that. We don't understand how much work went into that thing. Because our lawn has the dandelions and the weeds, and we have it mowed, right? Same thing in a spiritual sense or in a physical sense. So there are certain things we need to realize in order to not let the devil sway us into a wrong choice. So we now understand that the devil's job is to get us to choose the wrong path. Yeah. Right? So there's certain things we can implement to make sure that we don't choose the wrong path. First and foremost, we need to realize that God has handpicked us. Come on. I'm going to tell you this today. It was not your decision to be in here today. It's not your decision that you're a Christian. It's not your decision that your family and your children now come up here and lift their hands in worship. It's not your decision. You're sitting in here today because God picked you. God blessed you. I don't know why that God has not chosen others to come in here yet or to any other church. But realize that what you have today, sitting in here, is simply a blessing. Amen. Simply a blessing. One of the biggest culprits in making bad decisions is that we allow our feelings to dictate our actions. Yeah. We allow our feelings to make our decisions. We make decisions based on our feelings, right? in life, there's some that are better at it, but there's some people that are built to make decisions with their mind, right? They take account. Okay, if I make this decision, this is what's going to happen. If I make this decision, this is going to happen. But there's some of us, me, definitely, I have this great big heart. I don't know why God gave me this great big heart, because so many times this thing gets me in major trouble, major jams, because I listen to this thing too much instead of listening to this. In verse 30, Esau said to Jacob, I'm starving. Give me some of that red stew you've made. Starving. It's a feeling, right? When we enter into this fast, you're going to feel some starvation happening. And you're going to want to freak out, man, and eat 5 combo meals, man. You want to go crazy. Trust me, I promise you this, because when I first started my fasting journeys, like on day 2 or day 3, I'm fasting, and pretty soon, man, I'm freaking out, man. I'm going crazy, man. I gotta eat something good, man. And it wasn't good enough for me to go grab a Big Mac and fries. I had to go get a Big Mac and fries, and then I left, and I went to KFC to try the new donut chicken sandwich, man. And it just kept going, you know. And next thing you know, I was at La Puente, man, and I really failed, man. I really fell off. So just know now, going into this, that that's going to happen, right? My wife came home, and I was on the couch. My shirt didn't cover my panza fully, you know, it looked like one of them half shirts, you know. I still had frosting. It was terrible. She said, "What? I thought you were fasting. What happened?" I said, "I don't know what happened exactly. I'm a little unclear. It's like one of those nights, man, when you drink way too much, man, and you don't remember what happened. I was like in a food coma. It was crazy." So here's Esau, and he says to Jacob, I'm starving. I'm starving, man. Feelings that drive us. Right? Pride drives us. Happiness drives us. Hunger is a definite driver to making decisions. But how we act on those feelings is what the most important thing is. We're all going to go through these feelings. We all have feelings, love, sadness, all these things. But it's how we act. It's how we react to the feeling that we're having. Amen. So many times we have to have it now. I got to have that thing right now. Those of you that have gotten in debt with credit cards, you understand, right? I got to have it now. When I was 19 years old, no 19-year-old should be getting credit cards. But what the bank knows and what the retail stores know, they know if they put that credit card in this 19-year-old's hands, he's going to max it out. Not in a year, not in 6 months, not in a month, not in a week, but he's going to max that thing out the first time he enters that store. The first time. So I'm 19 years old, right? And everybody's giving me credit cards. Man, I even had a credit card to, what's the pregnant lady store? Motherhood. I had a Motherhood credit card. I'm like, baby, let's go to Motherhood and get you some pregnant clothes. Ping, ping, ping. And then pretty soon, man, I can afford all those payments, right? It was a bad decision. It brought me joy initially, but it absolutely brought me sadness in the end. I'm like, well, now I got to get 2 jobs to pay for these credit cards. We got to have it now, or else we're not happy. We're not content. This is the beautiful thing about fasting. It teaches us to have self-control. It teaches us to be content. So the problem with reacting to our feelings is that we don't think about the long-term effect the decision will have. The long-term effect. Very rarely do we think about the long-term effect. We think about, how am I going to feel right now? How am I going to feel when I'm eating this smothered burrito? Seen someone that eats and they're like dancing in the chair. They're so happy, right? And then when they're done, they're like, oh gosh, why did I do that? Oh, I can't stand myself. Buying a vehicle that we really can't afford. Why we go in there and we have a set a payment amount in our mind. Man, I'm not going to go over $300 a month. And we go in there, and the $300 a month cars, man, them are some Dodge Neons with a spray can job. We're like, gosh, this is what I get for $300? And the salesman was like, yeah, man, but this baby over here, it's a little more. But man, she looks sweet, doesn't she? And we're like, yeah, woo, man. And we walk out of there with a $600 a month payment. And then we call the insurance and we're like, what? How much to insure this thing? And then we struggle with gas. We can't even put gas in the thing, right? Man, crazy. Eating the way that we know is bad for us. Another dilemma. Big dilemma. There's warnings everywhere. This could cause diabetes, right? You shouldn't eat this because it causes heart disease. Your cholesterol is going to go out the roof, man. If you continue to eat this way, you're going to have a heart attack, right? But when we go to Texas Roadhouse, we don't order the 6-ounce sirloin. That's $10. No, man. We got to have the 25-ounce porterhouse that's hanging off the plate, man. And the steak isn't enough, man. Put some mushrooms. Put some onions, man. Bring the A1. Put bacon in my potatoes and cheese all over it, man. But you know, before you bring that out, give me a onion blossom. Right? And man, we chow that thing. And then you turn 43 and you're having night sweats and you're sweating in the day and you sweat when you sit down to eat and you get headaches, you know, and your back hurts and you go to the doctor and he's like, look, man, you got to eat more vegetables. Cholesterol is through the roof. Your blood looks like tortilla masa. Head down the wrong way, buddy. Change some things. Allowing the world to dictate our decisions instead of God. Right? Crazy enough, man, these little things that we can't get our noses out of. My granddaughter, she's so cute. These things, they hear you. When you're carrying a conversation, I'm not lying to you. If I'm talking about a new truck right now, man, I sure would like a brand new Chevy Silverado black. What's going to pop up on my social media feeds? Chevy ads, truck ads. Guaranteed, try it. Talk, have a conversation in front of your phone, then go to your Facebook and see what ads come across. I kid you not. When someone told me that, I'm like, lies. That's the truth, man. It trips me out. We've tested it. We've done it. We talked about something. We were talking about, I don't know, buying like a gym bag or something. What showed up on my social media feed? Gym bags. I'm like, what? And my phone was like, but you don't really go to the gym. So here came the food ads again. Kids, listen up to this, teenagers. Having sex with someone you're not supposed to be having sex with, Holmes. Having sex with someone you're not supposed to have sex with. I can't tell you how many times I've heard one of my buddies say, man, I should have never slept with that girl. She's destroying my life. I can't tell you how many times I've seen my sisters and my loved ones in my family, girls in my family, who have brutally been dragged through the gutter by some idiot who I want to choke to death and punch his lights out. And I can't tell you how many times. Why? Because we made a decision on impulse. We made a decision based on our feelings and not with our brain. Esau claimed he was starving. I'm starving, man. But was he really starving? No, he wasn't starving. Was he in a position where it meant life or death? Did these lentils, were they going to save his life? Absolutely not. The truth is that we can survive without food for weeks. God's built our body so that when we're in a fasted state, our body protects the muscle. Our body protects itself. When we're in that fasted position, our mind starts to be more clear. It starts to work better. On the second and third day of a fast, man, you are a smart son of a gun. Yeah, trust me. When you're in the second and third day of fasting, you start to smell better. Man, you can smell, dang, I smell good. It's my wife cooking. Your senses come alive. Your eyesight gets better. I kid you not. Try it. In that fasted state, your body comes alive. Another beautiful thing about fasting, God has built our body to repair itself. In the fasted state, your body can cure diabetes. Your body can cure cancer. It absolutely heals itself. The longer you're in a fasted state, the more optimal your body is. Guaranteed. It's crazy because there's like intermittent fasting and like all these fasting things have come around, right? And they're realizing all these benefits. When God established fasting at the beginning of time,
Amen. He
put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden and he says, man, eat all these fruits and veggies, guys. Right? There was no tortillas, I'm sorry. There was no guisado in the beans, man. When you brown the flour, thicken up the beans, that stuff's bad. Bad. We should only have it every once in a while. Here's the thing. Esau put himself in a position to be propositioned. Propositioned. When I first heard that word, man, it's a little bit offensive. You know, it's a little, when I hear proposition, it brings some things to my mind that, I don't know, seem kind of crazy to me. But he put himself in a position to be propositioned. In verse 31, Jacob, his brother, replied to him. He says, okay, I'll give you some of this soup, but you're going to have to trade me your birthright to get this soup. Right? It was Esau's fault. Right? He said, give me that thing. I'm starving. I'm making a decision on impulse. Give me that thing. And Jacob's seen an opening. He says, okay, I'll give you this thing, but I want something too. Right? Esau put himself in that position to have an ultimatum, to make a decision, a choice. He put himself in that position. The definition of proposition is this: it's a suggested scheme or plan of action. The enemy wants to put you in that position where he can put his plan into action in your life. So it's simple, right? The lesson we can learn here is don't put yourself in a position to be propositioned. If you don't have extra money, then don't go to the mall. Simple. If you do not have extra money to send, you have no business in the mall. Because you're going to go to the mall and you're going to be like, ooh, man, those shoes are dope. What, they're limited? What if they sell out? Oh, Reed, man, come on. We can start for a week. Right? She's like, I hate you. You jerk. Spend all our money on shoes. Right? I put myself in the position. I didn't have the money to spend, but I went anyway. Let's go to the mall, man. I didn't have some of those breadsticks with the cheese. Walking around. Give me an ice cream from Dairy Queen. Oh, look at that jacket. Woo, that jacket will look nice on me, man. Right? And we put ourselves in that position where now we have a choice to make, where if we would have stayed our butts home, right, and been satisfied with the shoes, 20 pairs of shoes in the closet, right? When it's crazy because growing up, my dad had like 2 pairs of shoes. He had work boots and he had boots that could come to church. If my dad saw my closet, he would slap me, man. Get over here, you little dummy. If you're trying to lose weight, don't go cruising around on an empty stomach. Don't do it. Man, if you're trying to lose weight, eat your orange at home, your avocado, have a bowl of oatmeal, fill up, drink a lot of water, then go for a cruise. Don't put yourself in a position where you're going to fail.
Yeah.
If you're married, don't be hanging out at the bar with single folks. Bumping and grinding. There ain't nothing wrong with a little bump and grind.
No.
Oh, there's a lot wrong.
That's right.
A whole lot, man. And if you do it, you're going to find out just how much is wrong with it. Those of us that have tried it, man, we found out, man, that's a terrible choice to make. If you're trying to get closer to God, don't be trading your Bible and prayer time for some binging on Netflix. Don't do it. The problem is that we give in to our feelings. We don't have self-control. We just run rampant doing whatever it is that we want to do. God created feelings, right? But he created feelings not for us to follow them all the time, but it's so that we can enjoy life, so that we can enjoy a loving relationship, so we can, under the confines of marriage, so that we can enjoy our family and our children. God created feelings so that we can use them for those things. But just like everything else, we take those feelings and we abuse them. We abuse them, man, and we're using them for everything. We're following them all over the place and chasing after them. God didn't establish them for that. God established them to be used wisely and godly.
Amen.
So, following feelings leaves the door open for the devil to walk right in. And it's like, open him right up. Come on in, buddy. Let's make another bad decision together. So Jacob asks Esau to trade him his birthright for a bowl of soup. Propositions make you question yourself. Verse 32 says, look, I'm dying of starvation, said Esau. What good is my birthright to me now? What good is it to me in this moment? That thing doesn't mean anything to me right now. I want that thing. That thing's better than my birthright in this moment. If we allow feelings to get into the driver's seat, we're in for a crazy ride. We're in for a ride that we don't want to be on. When I was a kid, my dad always took me hunting since I was a little kid, man. And we'd go hunting in his old Chevy truck, man. He didn't have a brand new truck. He had an old Chevy Scottsdale. Beautiful truck, man. One bunch in the front. It was white with the blue stripe all the way around it. I would give anything. I would take that truck over any truck in the entire world, man. I wish I could get my hands on that truck. It was an old truck even to him, but he loved that thing, man. We'd go hunting, right? And we'd go driving up the mountain, and wherever we went, it was like a one-lane road, man. Two cars didn't fit on it. And the higher you got up, the steeper the drop-off was. So we'd be driving up these hills, these mountains, and you're looking down, man, and if this truck falls off, you're dead, man. This is worse than any roller coaster ride you could ever ride, man. We're driving up this mountain with fully loaded guns in the truck, man, and one wrong move of the steering wheel, man, and you're gone. You're going down. And I remember being so scared as a child. And if that wasn't bad enough, driving up this hill, knowing that, man, at any moment we could fall off the edge, what comes the other way? Another truck coming down the mountain. So now, my dad has to drive up on the side where the mountain still is, and we're like this, on the side of the mountain, so the other truck can come by. And, dude, I don't know why, but I got underneath the dash, like that's going to help. Hanging on to there. I didn't want to see, man. And my dad's just laughing at me. What a wussy, man. Whose kid are you? But we get ourselves in those positions. simply because we follow our feelings, simply because we make wrong decisions. And here's the sad part, is usually at that time, we go, well, there must not be a God. God must really not love me, because here I am again in this position, here I am again in this situation, when it's simply that we had no self-control. Man, I wish 20 years ago I was sitting where you're at and I heard this sermon. I wish I could go back and sit where you're at, where you guys are at. You guys. I wish someone would preach this to me when I was your age. I wish somebody would have told me these things when I was a teenager. Man, I wish. Feelings are nearsighted. Nearsighted, right? You ever seen somebody and they go to the movies or they go to order some food and they go like this? What's the matter with you? I can't see. I can't see that far. You know? When me and my wife first got married, we always had to sit in the front of the movies, you know? I'm like, why can't we sit in the back? She couldn't see. What's happening? What did I say? I'm like, you can't see that? Right? So she got LASIK, man. That's you, man. Get some LASIK. It works wonders. But feelings they're nearsighted. You know, you can't see far enough into the future when you're following your feelings.
True.
Feelings make crazy things seem logical. Feelings make crazy things seem logical. Right? That's why when you're growing up, you know, and guys, when you're first getting muscles and you're getting good looking, man, and you start to see the ladies, you're like, woo, yeah. And you're riding your bike, and you see a nice jump that you can show off on. Oh yeah. She looking? Oh yeah, she's looking. Ooh. Crash. That's your pride. Yes. That is your pride. That is you trying to show off. You don't need to show off. God made you beautiful. Amen. Ladies, you don't have to do anything different. God made you beautiful. God will bring you the guy that He has designed for you. You don't have to go chasing around. You don't have to go looking everywhere for some dude to hang out with. Just be patient. Amen. Trust God.
Amen.
Yes, amen. I like that, man. All the single ladies, they're like, amen, Pastor. Yeah. Waiting patient. God has given us each a choice in everything. It's your choice. God's a gentleman, right? He's not like my dad who was like, make the right choice. No, God's like, dude, you know right and you know wrong. Make your choice. Esau thought that a bowl of soup was better than a birthright. His immediate urge was satisfied. It's a terrible way to live, man. You have to fight those urges. You have to. So, obviously, there's a next. After that urge is satisfied, there comes a next. Here's what I found out about sin. The moment I'm done sinning, the very moment I'm done sinning, I'm like, oh, I can't believe I did that. Once the excitement's done, once the initial act of whatever it is that you're doing is done and finished, it's a big letdown. Like, I failed again. Right? For so many years, I went without drinking alcohol. Right? God came into my life, boom, saved me, man, and He ridded me of that thing for a couple years. Just so happened that I was golfing with the pastor one day. I was golfing with my pastor one day. And my pastor said to me, he said, Pat, when I'm hanging out, I like to have a beer every once in a while. Just so you know, right? And in that moment, it gave me permission. In that moment, I had a choice, right? And he says, would you like one? And I says, you know what? Man, I would love one. That addiction that God ridded me of, took it away. Guess who has to fight that every day now? I do. I drank that beer. I ended up drunk on the golf course. Drunk out of my mind. Next day, drive by Seth. Go and get me a couple tall boys, and I pound them in the car. So now, not only am I back to my drinking, I also know that if Reba knows, there's going to be some issues. There's going to be some trouble. So now I have to hide. Now I have to lie. It was that simple. Just like that. That quick, man. This is the reason I tell you, whatever I preach from this pulpit, it's your job to go back and look. It's your job to go back and read the scriptures for yourself. Pastors aren't perfect. We struggle. We have addictions. We make bad decisions. The only thing that qualifies me to be up here speaking to you is simply that God chose me. This is the greatest blessing that God ever gave me. And I do my very best to be studied up. I do my very best to be prayed up. But that doesn't make me perfect. Always question your pastor. Always. Pastor, you said this. Can you explain a little more? Always. Keep your pastor accountable. The thing with giving in to self, giving into flesh, is that once it's done, we always want more. We always want to pound those next couple the next day in the car. We always want more. And the thing is that it's never worth it.
Amen.
It's never worth it. I wish I could give my mind and put it inside those young kids' head. I wish they could think and see my life with a 43-year-old's mind who's made a lot of mistakes. And I wish they could see and I wish they could make decisions based off of my mistakes. Because life would be absolutely different. But unfortunately, that's just not possible. Here's the big part, right? Here's God is a gentleman. But when we sin, when we live a life of self, when we live a life of flesh, when we follow our every desire, unfortunately it comes with a punishment. In verse 37 and 38, it says this. It says, Isaac said to Esau, Isaac's their dad, right? And so now here it comes to where the birthright is passed out. The boys are ready to leave the home and live their own lives. And Isaac, the father, says to Esau, he says, I have made Jacob, your younger brother, I have made Jacob, the one that you gave the birthright to, I have made him your master. And I have declared that all his brothers will be his servants. I have guaranteed him an abundance of grain and wine. What is there left to give? His father says, look, I've given it all. Everything that was supposed to be yours, I had to give it. Esau pleaded. You ever been in that position and you're like, please, no! Reba, I'm sorry, I won't do it again. I promise, please, please. I'll tell you, I've been in that position more times than I want to admit. I'm sorry. Please, 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 please. Esau pleaded, not one blessing left for me? There's nothing left for me? Are you serious? All for a bowl of soup? All for a Krispy Kreme's donut? Now I got to have injections. Now I got to take pills. All because I didn't listen to you, God. Now I've lost my family. I'm living on the streets because of this garbage I continue to put inside of my body. Really? Oh, my Father, please bless me too. Then Esau broke down and wept, cried, man. His father Isaac said to him, you will live off the land and what it yields. You're going to have to work, brother. I already gave it all to Jacob. So you're going to have to make something out of yourself. You're going to have to work hard. There's one thing I can tell you. I've been married to this beautiful girl for 27 years. 27 years. And people that have been married that many years, they know that it takes very hard work. I can't imagine how many times that she hasn't wanted to be married to me because I'm a ding-dong sometimes. She's had to work. I've had to work. Those of you that are parents, we know it's not easy. Man, I have a 27-year-old son, and sometimes I want to bong him on the head sometimes. Both of them. But they're bigger than me. So they bong me on the head. There's always good news when God's. It doesn't matter how many bad decisions we've made. There's always good news with God. Verse 40 says this. And you will also live by your sword. You will serve your brother for a time, but then you will shake loose from him and you will be free. You're going to serve that bad decision for a time. But then you're going to shake free from that thing.
Yeah.
You're going to serve that mistake for a short time. Enough so that you learn your lesson. But then I'm going to build up inside of you some wisdom and some courage and some strength and some godly wisdom. And you're going to break loose from that thing. You're not going to be a servant of that thing forever. Because with God, you are an overcomer. You can overcome all of those things.
Amen.
The truth is, self-denial, denying the flesh, man, that builds strength. To be able to say no. You know, I heard a beautiful testimony of a beautiful young lady who thought that she had to do things with men to get their love. But she came to the point in her life where she understood her worth, where she understood her value, and she was able to say no. I'm worth so much more than your sorry punk. B-U-T-T. I'm worth way more. You don't deserve this. You don't deserve all this. Shoot. Self-discipline. Self-control. I ask you to stand with me this afternoon. As the worship team comes up, Galatians chapter 6, verses 7 through 16 says this. It says, do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatever one sows, that will he also reap. For the one who sows to his own flesh will from the flesh reap corruption. But the one who sows to the Spirit will from the Spirit reap eternal life.
Amen.
And let us not grow weary of doing good, for in due season we will reap, if we do not give up. So then, as we have opportunity, let us do good to everyone, and especially to those who are of the household of faith. See, with that large letters, I am writing to you with my own hand. The Apostle Paul finally understood. Why did he understand? Because he made so many mistakes. Bad decisions, bad choices. But when it clicked, when that light came on, he understood. And my prayer is, as we close out the year, I'm praying that that light comes on. That you understand your value. That you understand your worth. That as we move into 2020, that we will enter that year with self-control, self-discipline, that we'll be able to tell ourselves no, ain't happening. Because I have a dream and I have a goal. God's given me a vision.
Amen.
God's designed you for a purpose. And one of those purposes is that you teach your children how to respect themselves, how to love themselves, how to tell themselves no. And the way that that starts is that it starts with you. Don't tell them to do something and do the opposite. Because they're going to do what you do, not what you say. Jesus, we love you this afternoon, God. I thank you, Lord, for caring for us so much. I thank you, God, because you designed us to have feelings. And I ask you, Lord, that those wouldn't be the defining factor in the decisions that we make, but we would learn to respect them and to enjoy them in a godly way, not in a worldly way, God. I ask you to help us to stop chasing after things, Father, that don't belong to us. But God, to respect the things that you've given to us. Our marriages, our children, our families, Lord God, our homes, our vehicles, our finances, our jobs, our physical bodies. I pray that as we move into 2020, God, that the things that we consume would be a living testimony to your goodness. The way that we carry ourselves, God, would be a living testimony to those around us. That we would no longer fit in, but God, that we would stick out like a sore thumb. And we'd stick out, that people would see us and say, oh my gosh, this guy's different. This girl's different. I want to know why. Lord, I ask you that you would bless every person in here this afternoon, God. That whatever the desires of their heart is, God, that God, you would meet our needs. That you would answer our prayers. As we step out in faith, starting in January with this fast, God, that we would hear your voice more clearer than ever, God, that our senses would come alive, Jesus, and that we would feel your breath, God, that we would feel you so close to us, God, that there's no denying that you are real, that there is no denying, God, that you are faithful, that there is no denying, God, that you are truthful, that your word is true. I pray, Lord, that you give us the strength to make it through, Father. We love you this afternoon, God. I ask you that you will be with us this week, God, as we celebrate your birthday, as we celebrate your life, God, that we would sit in our living rooms and tell our children, not about Santa, God, but about Jesus Christ, the holy and spotless Lamb of God. Thank you for dying for us. Thank you for offering us salvation. Lord, we love you and we praise you. In your precious name we pray. And everybody said, man, give the Lord a hand clap this afternoon. I love you guys. Merry Christmas.
I said it first.